Welcome to RV Out West. I'm your host, Brooks. My Family of Four's base camp is located in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and our RV adventures radiate out from there. Please grab a mug of coffee and join us as we discuss RVing around the American West. From sweet camping spots, gear and equipment, to tips and tricks, we've got you covered. We are RV Out West. Josh Winters, also known on YouTube as Josh the RV Nerd, is joining me today on RV Out West. Josh got involved in the RV industry back in 2009 as his father owned Haylet RV in Coldwater, Michigan for 33 years. That is until recently, as it has merged with Bish's RV. Before working in the RV industry, Josh worked in the freight logistics industry. He was looking to get out of the freight industry, and one day he was talking to his dad about joining the family business. Originally, he started as a temp employee and was tasked with building a website for Haylet RV. Shortly thereafter, he became a part-time 20-hour employee as he was to update the website with the inventory as it changed. Then, one day during a super busy Saturday, he put on his fireman hat, as he likes to call it, and he says in his own words, he accidentally sold a trailer. From that day on, he was part-time sales and part-time webmaster. A couple of years later, his dad asked him to add some videos to the website. Josh, a little reluctant to the idea of video and RV sales, decided to jump in with both feet. And as they say, the rest is history. Josh, thank you so much for joining me today on RV Out West.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Brooks.
If you were talking to somebody who had just kind of come in there into Bish's, what are tips and advice you have for kind of what that buying process is?
Sure. One of the things that I really like about the Bish culture is we just don't use the word salespeople. I think people already know they want to get an RV. I don't think they need to be sold on the idea. They need somebody that gets them geared up properly. So we have outfitters. And I know that sounds like, okay, so you're just renaming it. But there's a different mindset. There's a different mentality there. The goal of an outfitter is to make sure you're finding the best RV for you, not just the one that happens to make us the most money that day or the oldest trailer on the lot. And boy, we're sure happy to get rid of that thing. We're trying to find the right one for you, make you happiest longest. It fits my slogan there of getting your second camper the first time. Getting to know somebody on that little bit deeper level. It takes a little bit more time. We're going to ask you a couple more questions, but we're more likely to find you the RV that is truly what you're looking for. I cannot count the number of times I've had people come in wanting to get a bunkhouse camper, and then after visiting with them for 20 minutes, find out I don't think that's exactly the best fit for you. And you're like, what do you mean? How old are your kids? Like, are they in their teens? Are they going to be leaving the house soon? Are they not going to be camping with you very much? Were you planning on financing something? All of these things are weirdly related because a lot of people like to finance this stuff pretty long term, 10, 12, 15 years. Do you want to get a 15-year contract on a trailer that only works for 2? What if we could help you figure out a trailer that gets you through for a year or 2 with the kids? And then after that, now you're in that couple's camper that just works for you, but we found one that worked both ways. It takes more time to do that, though. It's a little harder. I think because of the connotation of a salesperson and things like that, you naturally as a consumer have defenses up. I do. I'm not any different than anybody else. I am just as closed guarded as anybody else when I have to buy a car or something like that. But truly getting to know those people and learning more about their vehicle and making sure it's a safe pairing and stuff like that. That's just the absolute cornerstone of the process. Regarding your trailer walkthrough, your instructional tour, I'm sure every store does it a little bit differently. I'm still new to the Bish culture, so I don't want to speak too far out of turn here. I know that historically at this store, though, and I got to believe it's similar to other stores, someone comes in and say, okay, you want the beginner, intermediate, or advanced version of this? Do you need us to show you how to operate a water heater, or are you past that? You want to learn about the real in-depth stuff? We can spend that time however works for you, but we do have specific time slots allotted for different customers. So we got to know how we're going to spend that effectively.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's the goal.
Yeah, no. And the other big thing for me that was really, really interesting when we did our purchase too is an after the fact lesson that I learned about how I just assumed buying an RV is a lot like buying a vehicle.
Very
And they are
common misconception. Yeah.
two totally different animals.
Yeah. Why can't I take it home today? Well, first of all, I have to do a 6-hour propane safety check. 6 hours, you can't just always release that on the spot. Maybe if you come in early in the morning and we have shop time available, we could have something for you by the afternoon. But yeah, it's not like coming down on your lunch break and driving out in the new Chrysler or whatever.
Right. Like the dealership I bought from is an hour and a half from my house. I needed to get some warranty work because my slide wasn't seating right. So I went to the closer one, and it was a lot of problems. And they kept kind of saying, you need to take it back to the people you bought it from. And I'm like, yeah, but they're twice the drive time.
Yeah, that is something one of the things I think people respect about our videos is I tell you, and this is my opinion. This isn't, the Bish company policy, but right. I greatly dislike that aspect of the RV industry. This business is very fun and camping is so awesome, but it's not a perfect culture, as it were. And there's certain things, the infrastructure in the RV industry is not like it is in the auto business. This county that I'm sitting in right now has now 43 licensed automotive repair facilities. They have 2 licensed RV repair facilities.
That's one of the big differences.
It's the number of places, the number of suppliers, whether if a supplier is feeding people like Ford and GM, they have to be able to come up with a number of parts to be able to account for extras and oopses and everything else. The suppliers of the RV industry, despite the size of this industry, are far smaller in scale. So they can often keep manufacturers fed, but additional stuff where needed becomes problematic, especially right now when there's a shortfall of parts. That's a word that we don't use very much. You hear the word shortage thrown around left and right in the RV industry right now. We're actually in a situation of shortfall where, let's say, like there's a huge ladder quote shortage right now. Ladder builders have made like 157% more ladders than the year before. The problem is there's like 215% more demand. So it's not that they aren't cranking out a ton of ladders. It's just that they can't crank out the extreme amount to keep up with the market trend right now. Gotcha. So this industry is not one that has the infrastructure that can handle the insane spike in demand that we've seen the last really year and a half, 2 years.
Yep.
I actually at a little bit of a turning point where I have some stats that really suggest we're in a healing phase right now, where those problems are slowly going to begin going away. But it's like, you can create a problem like a rocket going up. Fixing the problems like a parachute coming down. It takes a lot longer.
The other thing then is we got, which I'm excited about. My Seattle RV show is next month. So we have RV shows coming back.
Yeah.
And so with those RV shows coming back, what are some things that people should be looking for this season as it kind of ramps?
This is going to sound up crazy with the insane spike of demand that's been out there. There actually are like fresh batches of 2021s dating back to pre-June builds of the calendar year of 21, but some 21 model years that are only just now starting to actually get to dealerships because they were partially built and they were missing something like a window or an air conditioner. Like you cannot ship it without this object, that are finally available. And all these things that were built and partially completed and already VIN numbered are now finally making dealer landfall. And one of the cool things about that is because they were already VIN, they were already invoiced, the 6 months of price increases that came after that have been avoided. So
cool.
That's a massive, massive benefit. So you can get there might be the very beginning of this year. And dealers are going to want to get off that 21 stuff because
they want to make room.
This coming year, it's going to be 23s, and a lot of dealerships, especially larger organizations, their lots are full. They need to start making room to keep a churn going. So there might be some really surprise deals out there, but on a very limited basis, like you better get it if you find it kind of thing. Like somebody else, the phrase we used to use here is, if you see an RV you like today, you want to think about it till tomorrow. that could have been the RV that somebody else saw yesterday and plans to buy today. You know,
Right, exactly.
If you find a new in stock 21 somewhere, it ain't gonna last long. Like I said, a massive difference. It's just the fact that because it was already built, the pricing has been stabilized on that. You have avoided a lot of trickle price increases that came through the last couple months.
What are some of the things you are most excited about for like in the industry? What kind of, I guess, what surprised you the most for kind of what you're hearing and thinking about for 2022?
I'm excited to see what feels like some normalcy in production coming back. A lot of manufacturers announced back in the end, like the beginning of the 2021 model year, so like almost a year and a half ago or whatever. Here's these floor plans we're going to start building, and then the world flipped upside down, and they went, "Oh crap, we can't build new stuff because we have such huge demand on the original popular stuff. That stuff just can't happen now." We're starting to see new models that are finally entering into production, or manufacturers who had really wide, robust catalogs had to narrow their focus a little bit for a time to build more of fewer models, their most popular stuff. We're starting to see the reins loosen up on that a little bit, which is really exciting because it'll start to, bring in new options, new opportunities, or just things that people couldn't find for. I had somebody on my channel today, man, I absolutely love this 199 MBS J feather. Why can't I find these anywhere? And it's because they got built, then they got paused, and now they're finally back in production. But there's been such a delay in a backlog that the ones that do get out there are just gone immediately. But as that continues to open up, more and more of that will become available. You'll start to see more dealer stock available, which is, I always prefer that. I never like selling out of a catalog,
Right. Right. I mean, and especially with these kind of purchases, I want to touch, feel, see, walk in, walk around.
A lot of money. Sure. Let's call a spade a spade. It's a lot of money. Let's make sure we're doing it right. That's why I want to ask you those extra couple questions sometimes.
Which I think is fantastic. In your most recent video that just came out a couple of days ago, well, came out about a week ago now. You had talked about inventory hopefully stabilizing. And so I think we've kind of covered that a bit now, where you're seeing the ramping up of kind of those production models that were on pause and coming back out. Do you see the demand is still very, very,
very
big.
high?
So,
but for the first time in 3 years, build production has finally begun to outpace market demand. Now, it could be argued, okay, well, that's because we're in the winter months right now in some of the states. Obviously, some states stay warmer than Michigan, but there is an up-down trend in this industry. But even the last 2 years through the winter, retail demand was outpacing manufacturer production. For the first time in 3 years, that has changed. Now, it's not like by a drastic amount. And truly, it needs to at some point to start getting dealers restocked. But I've been kind of predicting this to be, I've predicted this the last 2 years and I've been wrong. I think this might be the time it finally happens. It's called a Swiss cheese here.
Yeah.
If your inventory is like a brick of cheese, it's going to look like Swiss cheese. There's going to be a couple ultra number one popular models from every brand we're just never going to get enough of. So you'll see some of those other models filter through. And then I think what'll happen is some of the folks who've been waiting for that ultra popular one are finally just going to go, that one over there is close enough. Or brand X makes the same floor plan that's now available again. Maybe I'll shift over there. And then I think by about the end of the 22 calendar year, we will see something more resembling normal, quote unquote, in terms of inventory volume available at dealerships. But it's still going to be a little touch and go, hit and miss through most of the year, I think.
Okay. I mean, at least it's trending, right, in a more better for both consumer and for the RV industry business as a whole to be.
Yeah, especially consumers being able to actually touch, feel, put their hands on stuff, not have to wait 6 months to have a not guaranteed price. I mean, that sucks. And I mean, that's a brutal policy that unfortunately a lot of places and dealerships have had to adopt. Although Quick props to Alliance. One of the things that as I've grown into the Bish's team, I'm really excited the different things that I learned about different brands. And one of the really cool things I learned about Alliance, and I think really separates their culture as a business, is they do price protect retail orders. And I don't know of almost anyone else doing that. So if you order an Alliance today, we know your price and you're good. Now, the
Interesting.
other stuff that comes in stock in the meantime will be subject to price increase, but you are good and you're locked in. And that really, that's big. There's nobody else doing that.
Yeah, that's a cool. That's a big positive.
I heard that and I read that. I'm like, I don't know. I contact Alliance directly and they're like, yeah, no, that's what we do. We make a commitment to our customers. I'm like, God, that's incredible. So just a quick shout out to those boys.
New in 22, Ember has made a big splash.
Yeah.
And you guys there at kind of hail it before Bish, or was it after it became? But you guys were one of the first ones to get a couple of the trailers on your lot.
Yeah, we were the first here. Actually,
Yeah.
We were the first to receive one. We were the first to complete a sale on one. So, no, that's been they're a very different, not for everybody, but really fun product to go through.
So tell me a little bit about just a high level overview, like kind of who are they targeting? Who, if somebody were to come in and say, hey, I saw this, or I watched your walkthrough video, and you're doing your outfitting and you find out I'm a family of 4 and I got a dog and this and that, like kind of how would you outfit? Who would you think would be a good match for that?
They're very different. They're not built at all like an industry standard. You could argue in some areas they're overbuilt, but I think the thing is there's 2 specific areas where I put Ember into boxes. And that is one, like the idea of a generational trailer. They are a trailer that you could hand down to your kid. They're going to be put together. They're still going to be there. Structurally, there's nothing in that trailer that can rot, they're a woodless structure, which is very cool. It's all composite, all aluminum, all block foam. I mean, I'm not going to say you couldn't ruin one. You'd almost have to intentionally neglect it to do that, though. And the other thing is for that boondock, off-grid, or mooch dock enthusiast, someone who isn't just a purist park camper. I think that's really what they're looking at least initially. I see Ember as a brand that will continue to evolve over time, but I think they saw an opportunity to do something different to get their name on the board and get themselves established as they to get a foothold before they expand,
And what is general, because they have, is it 2 models, 3 models? They only have
they plan 7 models initially that'll be rolled out by about the end of March.
Okay.
But currently there's 2 to 4 in active production as they're working through their initial lineup. And then they have further plans down the line, but they had 7 initial launch models that you can spot on their website. Most of them, half of the stuff says like TBD for specs because they haven't been built yet. They don't know how much it weighs.
Interesting. What personally are you, and professionally, both, I'm going to go with, are you most excited about for 2022?
Hands down, the chance to just get my hands on new and different things. Like I said, the stuff that I learned about Alliance, the things I didn't know. I've been in this industry for a while, and there's certain brands that I know pretty well inside and out, but there's a whole world of RVing out there. There's like our channel and the Coldwater, Michigan dealership has always been very towable focused, but I mean, there's a whole world of other towables. There's West Coast opportunities. There's some really fun premium brands that I've never had a chance to get my hands on. I'm really excited to finally have a chance to go through like Grand Designs and stuff like that in more detail. And every brand, I've always said and I've always believed, but I've never been able to know, like every brand is the best for a different reason. Every brand has those 1 or 2 or 3 qualities that just makes them really special for a certain customer. And getting to learn that DNA of the company and then of each brand of trailer and getting to see new floor plans and new things. Like I've seen the same thing for a long time out of this store, and getting to change things up a little bit, that is something I'm personally very excited about. Not to mention just being part of a bigger team. It's kind of fun sometimes being the few and the proud, but at the same time, it's a lot of work and it's awful exhausting. and being able to focus more purely on a smaller set of duties to be able to do them better is something I'm really looking forward to.
That's great. And how about personally? You got some camping trips planned? You got a
I hope
vacation
to.
time planned? What are you
Yeah, I've
thinking?
got some vacation time planned coming up for sure. Spring break can't get here soon enough. I'm gonna go get butter drunk in Harry P Town. Do you know what that means? You're looking at me funny.
Not
Okay.
at all.
Harry
I
P
wanna
Town,
know.
Harry Potterville at Universal Studios, and they drink
Yes.
this butter beer. Call
Okay.
it getting butter drunk at Harry P Town. I'm looking to get
Okay.
down there and ride some roller coasters and have some fun later this year.
What's your favorite national park and why?
I've never had the opportunity to camp and visit a national park.
Okay, then. Well, then that
That's
segues into my next one. What's your camping bucket list destination?
wow.
Right?
Brooks, you got some humdinger questions over here.
I've been thinking about it. I subscribed to your channel. I watch all of your videos. I've listened to when you went on RV Atlas, when you were on RV Miles.
I tell you what,
change things up a little bit.
everybody and their brother seems to go there, but I got to believe there's a reason for it. I'm going to say Fort Wilderness.
Okay.
Disney's Fort Wilderness, just because it sounds like it's just an absolutely awesome time. And hey, if you're not going to get butter drunk at Harry P Town, you can go roast a marshmallow with Daddy Mouse.
Is there anything else? We're kind of just wrapping up here. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I tell you, there's a lot changing for me this year, a lot of growth, and I'm really excited to see where this thing goes. One of the interesting things to me is that off our channel, despite the size of Bish's RV, I heard a lot of people say, I've never heard of these people until now. I don't know if it's because they've been primarily at home out west or something like that as they've continued to grow. Like I think we're their most eastern store right now in Coldwater, Michigan. But it's an exciting thing to see a family-owned, family-operated, larger organization. I've been it's kind of like, if it wasn't going to work directly for my family, I can't imagine being somewhere else after getting to meet these folks. You should see the number of internal promotions, and like every month the owner of the company gets up there, congratulates, hey, this guy was in the wash bay and now he's a tech, like down to the most basic level of this organization, celebrating people, educating and elevating them, but never
cool.
pushing them beyond their comfort level. If you're an outfitter and you're happy being right there, be right there. Find the spot that makes you happy. If you feel you need or want more, let us know and we'll help grow and educate you. And it's just a really cool environment to be a part of. And I've never thought that any one thing or any one person is ever going to be perfect, but I really like what I see. And I'm really excited to see the future of this company as they continue to expand. I'm glad that I'm getting to be a part of it, really.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's very exciting. And, the growth of the YouTube channel and everything that's going on there is going to be wonderful for them as well as for you. So that's great.
Yes, sir.
But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's time for our pit stop. And today we are going to be chatting about winter travel in the Cascade Mountains. The mountain passes along Highway 2 and I-90 have been closed recently. It seems like a good time to discuss what all the DOT messaging and signage means with regards to driving conditions when chains are needed, as well as some tips for what you should be keeping in your vehicle as you travel over the passes. So, what causes a mountain pass to close? According to the Washington Department of Transportation website, there are 3 common reasons for the passes to close. Many pass closures are caused by vehicles that spin out, crash, or slide off the roadways, often because the vehicle wasn't properly equipped or was going too fast for conditions. Slow down, stay alert, and leave extra space between vehicles during winter weather. Avalanche control. When possible, avalanche control work is scheduled at night when traffic volumes are low. The Washington State Department of Transportation attempts to provide advance notice, but that's not always possible in emergency conditions. Road clearing. If there is heavy snow in a short amount of time, road crews may close the pass to clear ice and snow from the travel lanes. Let's discuss the travel advisories for past conditions. Traction tires required. All passenger vehicles must have approved traction tires, and what this means is that it includes about an 1/8 of tread and an M&S or all seasons label with a mountain or snowflake symbol. It also means chains are required on all vehicles with a gross vehicle weight rating greater than 10,000 pounds. This includes large passenger trucks, SUVs, and RVs. Tire chains required. All vehicles must have approved tire chains except four-wheel and all-wheel drive vehicles. Violators can face up to a $500 fine. Chains required on all vehicles. During extreme weather, all vehicles must install chains when this is posted. This includes four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles. Should you choose to use studded tires, then it's important to note studded tires are only legal from November 1st to March 31st. Motorists using studded tires before or after these dates could incur a fine from law enforcement. There is no individual exception to the studded tire season. It is also important to know that studded tires do not satisfy state chain requirements. If chains are required on your vehicle, you will have to install them even on studded tires. Chains and four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive vehicles. Four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles under 10,000 pounds do not need chains installed during chains required notices, but drivers still must carry chains with them in case conditions worsen and they're required to install chains during a chains required and all vehicle notice. I do think it's also important to go over chain placement. So on a front-wheel drive vehicle, you should install your chains on the front two tires. If you have a rear-wheel vehicle, then you should install your chains on your rear two tires. Now, RVs, both trailers and motorhomes. Vehicle, trailer, and load combinations that are under 10,000 pounds must follow regular chain requirements. If the non-commercial vehicle and trailer combined are under 10,000 pounds, the law only requires the pulling vehicle or tow vehicle to be chained when chains required is posted, though drivers can install chains on both the tow vehicle and the trailer if they wish to. Vehicle, trailer, and load combinations that are more than 10,000 pounds must chain up when chains required is posted, even if four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. I do want to share a few winter driving tips for the mountain passes. You should always check the pass conditions prior to heading into the mountains. You want to drive at a slower speed so that you can remain in control. Be sure you know how to install your chains for your vehicle. You don't want to be learning on a wet and cold mountain road. Do not use cruise control. Always leave extra space between you and the vehicle in front of you. Lastly, four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive do not stop or steer better on ice. Lastly, you want to make sure that you carry some extra items in your vehicle during winter travel and when you know that you will be heading up into the mountains. You want to keep a basic winter survival kit in your vehicle: flashlights, batteries, a blanket, snacks, water, gloves, boots, and a first aid kit. You want to load your car with winter travel gear: your tire chains, an ice scraper, snow brush, jumper cables, road flares. Also, I have a little e-tool, entrenching tool from SOG that I have as a shovel that I keep in my truck as well. You always want to be sure that you leave with a full tank of gas. You can always get mountain pass conditions and travel information by either calling 511 or program your radio to WashDOT's Highway Advisory Radio. That's 5:30 a.m. and 16:10 a.m. Please, be sure to travel safe in the mountains. In our next episode in 2 weeks, I'm going to begin a 2-part series as I chat with our friends Tracker and Jiggles as they share their story of driving across America with their 2 children, a dog, and their trailer. They will share where they explored and where they stayed. If you're considering a grandiose trip like this, then this will be a great mini-series for you. In the meantime, please be sure to share with your friends and family about this podcast and head over to Apple and Spotify podcasts and leave this show a rating and a review. If you've not yet subscribed to the show, please do so that way you'll never miss an episode. Now, get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon. Thanks so much for listening to RV Out West. Join us again in 2 weeks with our next episode. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you choose to get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And I sure would appreciate if you left a rating or a review of the show. Special thanks to Scott Holmes Music for providing the intro song, We Are One. RV Out West can be found on Instagram and Facebook, where you can interact with us and follow along on our RV adventures around the Pacific Northwest. So get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon.